Hi Year 5, welcome to your third lesson of English this week. Today we are going to be innovating a setting description. You're going to have a basic setting description with a picture, and we are going to innovate it to improve it as much as we can using this toolkit. So we'll look at it a bit more in a second, but we've got conjunctions on there which we've been looking at this week. You've got adverbials on there which we looked at 2 weeks ago, expanded noun phrases, all things that we've looked at before. But let's first of all start with some total recall to help us. So pause the video. Can you remember the conjunctions that we've been looking at this week? So your coordinating conjunctions and your subordinating conjunctions. Let's have a think then. So our coordinating conjunctions, there are only 3. They are our boa conjunctions. So we have but, oops, let's get my select, but, or, and. Now this one's a bit harder, our subordinating conjunctions. Let's see how many you could remember from I saw a wabab. So we have if, since, as, when, although, while, after, before, until, and because. Well done if you managed to remember any of those. You need to try and remember them today, just to use some, not all of them, in your writing to improve our sentences. Another little bit of total recall then, as these are on our toolkit today. Can you identify the adverbials in each of these sentences? So just pause the video for a minute, read them through, and remember an adverbial is adding detail to the verb, and it can be about the time, the place, the reason, or the manner. Right, let's look at the first one all together. As quietly as possible, Sarah sneaked down to the kitchen and ate some chocolate. So we know our adverbial is going to be talking about the verb. So we've got 2 verbs here, sneaked and ate. Now there's nothing telling us about how she ate, or when she ate, or where she ate. But is there anything giving us more information about how she sneaked? So it's telling us as quietly as possible, isn't it? So this is an adverbial of manner, as she's doing it as quietly as possible. The second one then, a bird was searching for worms at the bottom of the garden. Where's our verb? So our verb is searching. Is there anything talking about time, place, manner or reason about the bird searching for worms? At the bottom of the garden, it's telling us where the bird was searching for worms. Well done if you've got that one. And finally, before he landed the, that should be plain. Let's just add an E in there. Before he landed the plane, the pilot asked the passengers to put on their seat belts. Where is the adverbial in this sentence? Before. So it is before he landed the plane. It's telling us the time. Now obviously that's not specifically a time of day or time of year, okay, but it is talking about the time. It's used the word before, and actually that's a conjunction, so this is a adverbial clause. Before he landed the plane, the pilot asked the passengers to put on their seatbelts. That is an adverbial of time. So well done if you got those correct. Let's move on. So today you will be doing a little bit of planning for your writing today. You are going to use a lot of imagination, and you need to be really absorbed in listening to what I'm going to model and talk to you about. Right, so as I mentioned at the beginning, we are going to use a basic setting description to work from, and we're going to use our toolkit to improve it and enhance it and add as much more detail and description to it as we can, because I know you're all amazing at adding description and detail into your writing. So let's just see what description we are going off. So here is our picture of an island in a very sunny place by the looks of it. It was a hot day. The beach was hot and the sky was blue. The palm trees swayed in the wind. The sea lapped the shore. The sand felt nice. What do you think about this setting description? Just have a think to yourself. If you read that in a book, at the start of a book, would you want to carry on reading that book? Probably not. Okay, this is a very basic, quite boring setting description. Okay, it's got really short, snappy sentences the whole way through. The vocab isn't amazing. It was a hot day, the beach was hot, the sky was blue, the sun felt nice. Okay, so we are going to use our toolkit and our amazing writing to improve this setting description today and add lots more detail. We think when you're describing something, especially a setting, you want the reader to almost create the exact same image in their head as the one that you've got. So if you look at this picture here, whatever setting description we are going to end up writing in a minute, we are going off of this picture. Okay? Now, when you finish that writing, if someone in your house read it afterwards, and you've got to imagine that they haven't seen this picture, they almost need to picture or imagine that photograph in their head without having seen it, just from your writing. That's how descriptive and detailed we need to try and be with it. So what I've done first of all, and you can pause the video and do this in your book, come up with some of your own ideas to help you with the Innovate in a moment. I've taken all the key aspects of this basic paragraph. So it was a hot day, it talks about the beach being hot and the sky being blue, there's palm trees, there's the sea lapping the shore, and there's the sand feeling nice. What I've done is just as a heading, just chosen those main ideas of the paragraph, and then I've added some extra ideas underneath that I might want to talk about or include when I'm trying to improve this piece of writing. So hot day, I've thought, well, how can we talk about the hot day even more? How could we maybe explain that? So a hot day usually means sun. The sun is yellow. Sweat, we normally sweat on a hot day, so I could talk about that. It's going to be bright. On a hot sunny day, people tend to have very tanned, shiny skin. The sea, I've thought, the colour of the sea is blue, so maybe I can use that in some kind of description. It said it was lapping the sand. The sea will be glistening in the sun, okay? The movement of the sea will be reflecting that sunlight. The sand is going to be hot, soft, dry. It's also going to be a bit gritty, okay? And it's also going to be a bit sticky. If you think sand doesn't just fall off of your skin, it sticks. So that could be some really good description to use. My palm trees, there are going to be branches. They're going to be tall. It mentioned they were moving in the wind or the breeze. I've added that palm trees have coconuts, so I might want to add more detail about some coconuts, and that palm trees tend to provide shade because they are really tall. And then finally, the hot beach and the blue sky, which was near the beginning. I was thinking of a way, how could we describe that a beach is hot? So we could think about how we see in the distance sometimes, the kind of the waves of heat coming off maybe the road or the sands or wherever you are. The blue sky is going to be clear if it's a hot day. Maybe the odd little cloud in the sky, and if we have a look back at that picture, it does have the odd cloud in the sky, so I could talk about that as well. So if you pause the video for a minute, maybe do the same and just jot some ideas down of how you could describe or add more detail to these things. Right, welcome back. Hopefully you've got some lovely ideas written down that you can change what I write in a minute to your own ideas slightly. Okay, so let's have a look at our toolkit again. For bronze today, you need to make sure that you've got all your capital letters and full stops. You need to use some coordinating conjunctions, so but, or and. And you need to add in some expanded noun phrases to describe all the nouns that you use in your writing. So remember, an expanded noun phrase is an adjective, comma, adjective, noun. For silver, you need to do all of bronze and then use subordinating conjunctions. Not all of them, just pick a couple and try and put them into your writing. Adverbials of time and place, so talking about where and when things are happening. And then try and add some similes or metaphors into your writing to add even more description. And for gold, you need to do all of that. Then it also includes relative clauses. So these are using which, when, that, who, okay, to add more information to your sentences. Adverbials of reason and manner, so saying why or how something is happening. Try and include different types of parenthesis, brackets, dashes, commas. Not, maybe if you're writing a relative clause, don't just use the commas, use the brackets. Or if you're adding in extra information about something, put it in dashes or brackets or commas. And then the challenge is to add a bit of inference to your description. So to use show not tell. Try and describe something so well that you are not actually telling the reader what it is, but they can infer straight away what it can be from your description. Right, so I am going to model a Innovate now, and then I'm going to choose bits that you can change for your own ideas. So let's read the basic version again. It was a hot day. The beach was hot and the sky was blue. The palm trees swayed in the wind, the sea lapped the shore, the sand felt nice. So that first part, it was a hot day. On my notes I talked about the sun, I talked about tanned skin, I talked about the colour of the sun, I talked about sweating. Okay, so I'm going to try and put these aspects into my first sentence and completely change and improve it was a hot day. Right, I'm going to go straight in with one of my subordinating conjunctions, and I'm going to use as. So, as the sun. Ooh, I'm going to use an expanded noun phrase for the sun, I think. I don't just want to say the sun, I want to describe the sun. Now, I said how the sun was yellow, but I could definitely improve the colour. As the blazing, so that shows us that it's hot, as the blazing honeycomb. Honeycomb is a nice orangey, yellowy, golden colour, just like the sun is. As the blazing honeycomb sun shone above me, I'm gonna be in this setting description. Now I'm going to add in a simile. I know I've got similes on my toolkit. So what is the sun like? It's like a glowing medallion. As the blazing, honeycomb sun shone above me like a glowing medallion. Now that is my subordinate clause or my fronted adverbial, so I need a comma. Droplets of water. I'm going to talk about my sweat. I'm going to take that sweat idea, but this is where I'm going to model to you show not tell. I'm not going to say sweat. I'm going to describe that as droplets of water on my skin. So droplets of water began to form. Now, I mentioned about having tanned skin, and now I'm not a person that tans very well, but I'm going to pretend in this case that I am. So I'm going to describe my skin as caramel. Began to form on my caramel skin. Full stop. So, it was a hot day has changed to, as the blazing honeycomb sun shone above me like a glowing medallion, droplets of water began to form on my caramel skin. Already, look, we're just talking about showing how it's a hot day by talking about the sun shining and me sweating. Brilliant. Right, the beach was hot and the sky was blue. So I talked about those heat waves that could rise from the ground and maybe the clear sky and the odd cloud. So I'm going to try and put that into a sentence now. I'm going to start with an adverbial of where, so in the distance. In the distance. And because I'm using a fronted adverbial, it needs to be followed by a comma. In the distance. Now, these heat waves are kind of transparent because you can still see through them. Gentle, transparent waves of heat could be seen rising from the islands. Now, because this is belonging to the islands, I need an apostrophe S. The island's delicate surface. This surface belongs to the island. And I think when it's very tranquil and quiet and empty, it's very delicate. And, so now I've used my coordinating conjunction of and the odd cloud was drifting rather than just moving across the sky, was drifting across. How could I describe the sky? I don't just want to say blue. I talked about it being clear, so I could use the word clear. Let's go with sapphire. That's a very similar colour to the sky. Sapphire sky. Brilliant! I'm really happy with that. So I've changed "it was a hot day" to a really detailed sentence, and "the beach was hot and the sky was blue" to a really detailed sentence. Now I'm going to move on to the palm trees swaying. I talked about there being a gentle breeze. I talked about the palm trees being tall and providing shade and growing coconuts. So, how could I describe the palm trees? Well, I said they were tall. Let's go with towering. Towering, tropical, because these tend to be in a tropical area. The towering tropical palm trees. What do? They kind of line the beach like, well, I'm saying they provide shade. What else provides shade? Umbrellas. So I could use a simile here again. The towering tropical palm trees lined the beach like umbrellas. And I'm going to add more information about that, about the shade, but I'm going to use some parentheses now, so brackets. Providing protective shade from the sun. You could put, I'm going to put for those who needed it, or need it, comma, bracket, full stop, sorry. Their branches, so I haven't actually mentioned the breeze yet, or the wind. Their branches swayed, now I've already used gently and delicately. Their branches swayed tenderly in the warm, so the breeze will be warm if it's a hot day, and a breeze comes off the sea or the ocean, so the warm ocean breeze. While, so now I've put in another subordinating conjunction of while coconuts fell onto the dusty sand below. Brilliant. Right, my next part, the sea lapped the shore. So I talked about the sea being blue, but again I could probably improve the word blue. And it's lapping the shore, it's hugging the sand. What's quite soft and huggy when you're cold? A blanket maybe. So I'm going to describe the sea as cobalt. It's a shade of blue, the cobalt sea. Now I'm going to add a relative clause in and give a bit more information about the sea. The cobalt sea, which was a giant blanket. Now this is also a metaphor because I'm saying it is a blanket. A giant blanket covering the golden sand, comma, lapped against the shore. I'm going to keep that bit from the original text. Lapped against the shore. Now I mentioned how it would be shining in the sunlight, so glistening like, another simile on the way, glistening like 1,000 diamonds. Brilliant. Full stop. Now I'm on to my last part about the sand. The sand felt nice, and we don't like the word nice, do we? That's a bit boring. I'm going to describe the sand. So in my notes I talked about the sand being soft but gritty at the same time. It's all little bits, isn't it? The soft gritty sand sunk beneath my feet. So that's an adverbial of where, beneath my feet. But I'm using another coordinating conjunction. So although it was soft and sank beneath my feet, we mentioned it was still sticky. So, but the grains stuck to my toes like glue on paper. Full stop. Let's quickly read that through now. As the blazing honeycomb sun shone above me like a glowing medallion, droplets of water began to form on my caramel skin. In the distance, gentle transparent waves of heat could be seen rising from the island's delicate surface, and the odd cloud was drifting across the clear sapphire sky. The towering tropical palm trees lined the beach like umbrellas, providing protective shade for those who needed it. Their branches swayed tenderly in the warm ocean breeze, while coconuts fell onto the dusty sand below. The cobalt sea, which was a giant blanket covering the golden sand, lapped against the shore, glistening like 1,000 diamonds. The soft, gritty sand sunk beneath my feet, but the grains stuck to my toes like glue on paper. You can clearly see by using that toolkit effectively that our writing has become so much better, okay, from those brief 5 sentences before. So I'm going to quickly tick my toolkit, and I've now underlined parts of the text that you can change as you write it up now yourself and use your toolkit. So I have constant capital letters and full stops used correctly. I've used and buts in my writing. I've used a lot of expanded noun phrases to describe various nouns in my writing. I've used a couple of subordinating conjunctions. I think I chose as and while. Adverbials of time and place, I've definitely done that. I've used quite a few similes, and I put a metaphor in there too. Brilliant. I've included a relative clause, which was a giant blanket covering the golden sand. Adverbials of reason and manner. I don't think I've done a reason, but I have told you things like gently and tenderly and delicately. So they are telling us how. I have used brackets for parenthesis and commas, and I did use show not tell as well. I didn't say it was sweat, I said it was droplets of water on my skin. So we can infer from that we are talking about sweat. So I have managed to change those really short, rubbish 5 sentences into a challenge completed toolkit here. So you take this now, pause the video, and everything that's in green, underlined in green, can you try and change? You don't have to do everything, but try and change as much of it into your own ideas as possible. If you jotted any down at the beginning, then you could use those. Good luck, Year 5. Remember to send in your work afterwards. Bye!